Hi, my name's Cameron Carlson from the AnimeOnLocation.tv. I'm here at Ohayocon 2019 with my good pal, Mr. Michael Sinterniklaas.
Yay, he said it right, so it's true. He is my pal.
I've been saying your name now for over 4 years.
It's been over 4 years?
Yeah.
And I think in that time I've slept for like 3 months.
Yeah, which is always true. Again,
You want to get me at the beginning of the year. I've come off the heels of some crazy deadline, and I'm always sleep deprived. So it's an honor to like have a fever dream interview with you once again.
Going into that, it's been a year since the last time you and I got to talk. How have you been in the last year?
Good. I slept 3 times, and I've done so much work, and it's been amazing, actually. It's been really, like, every year it's kind of crazy. I don't know how I got through it. And this past year, we did so many movies, so many theatrical releases, new series, and new clients, and celebrity things. We got a Golden Globe nomination from Mirai. Yeah. That's awesome. And then next month, the Oscar announcements are, so we're fingers crossed on that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, and going into that, you happen to work on an awesome movie that we discussed last time called Silent Voice. It taught you all about deaf culture, deaf people. You casted a deaf actor as the main lead. What was it like working so hard on that production, and also keeping and discovering about that community and hopefully getting out more information about that community going forward?
That was huge for me. Of course it was harder to do, and bless Andrew Partridge and Anime Unlimited, because we were like, okay, we're not going to ask for like more money, but we need more time to figure out how to find a deaf voice actress, which is just not really a thing. Yeah. You can't just be like, hey, all the agents. So that whole process of figuring it out was like, it's kind of its own reward, and not to sound corny, but like, I'm really glad that I learned more about that. And it's always been really important for me and my studio, and Stephanie Shea, we worked a lot on this. And while budgets for dubbing anime are low and the turnaround time gets shorter and shorter and shorter, we think it's really important to mine for authenticity whenever possible. So we always use kids for kids, and like a race appropriate, age appropriate, like everything, like gender, and in this case, like that culture, a deaf culture actor made sense to use for that. So I don't know, I think it was amazing, and it was totally worth it. I don't know if I mentioned before, but our mixer would call me up and be like, yo, this performance. I'm like, what's wrong? Did we distort something? He's like, no. Like, it's so good. And I'm like, I can't get through the mix because I'm like, ugh. So I was like, yes. And that guy is like real smart and real stoic. So I was like, oh, tugged on that stoic guy's heartstrings. I'm real proud of it.
I'm not gonna lie, I've been trying to search for a home release of it, and I just want to watch it so badly, because I after you told me to watch Your Name, and I tracked that down and finally watched that after a year, I really want to see a Silent Voice so badly. So hopefully we can get a home release, correct?
I don't know. Our client was in the UK, so the UK has it, but it was sub-licensed for US distribution theatrically with 11 Arts. And I know they do home video release as well, but I don't know what they're doing with this one. Okay. So I would say email them and let them know that you want it, so they know it's worth doing. Because I know they initially released it in sub only, and then enough people were like, but we want the dub, because the Japanese version didn't use a deaf actress for the title role, not the title role, but the lead. So since we had, it became really important to a lot of groups and people. I know some animation directors, one whose sister is deaf, and he was like, I got to see this movie, was really excited and loved what we did, and was like, it really honors the whole thing. So I was like really honored that this guy, who's an amazing, Brian Ellis, he's an amazing animation talent, who's, I think his sister is deaf, that's what anyway, I haven't met her, but I'll take his word. And if I'm not misremembering, because I'm tired, I think I'm not misremembering. So he's anyway, though I feel like I can't talk enough about how important it was to do it that way. And I don't know if I mentioned this before, but like in some of the YouTube comments on the trailer, they're like, oh, the voice is too deep to be that young. And I was like, yeah, because when you don't know what you sound like, you don't produce it in a way that's more pleasing or more the way you hear other people do it. So like that is just the of the natural emotion. And anyway, so I'm happy about all the comments, even like some of the like, wait, this doesn't seem right. I'm like, yeah, that's how you learn. But because of that, we're doing so much more now. Like this past year has been a lot about ethnic appropriate casting on a bunch of things. I can't talk about a lot of it because it's not announced yet, but like one film we did that like was another Fathom event for like 2 nights and was great is called MFKZ. So it's based on a French graphic novel. It was animated by Studio 4 Degrees C in Japan.
Oh, okay, cool.
and it's gorgeous. But it was, limited run, so not everyone knew about it. We got some big names in it. The Riz is in it. Vince Staples is in it. Giancarlo Esposito, Dasha Palencia. We got Michael Chiklis, who's the commish and the Shield. He's Vic in the Shield. Incredible cast. And Danny Trejo. Yeah.
Can't go wrong with Danny Trejo.
Cannot go wrong with Danny Trejo. And so we've been on that and other projects, not because of A Silent Voice, but as a part of that initiative where we will not cast inappropriately. I think it's been huge. It's meant having to find more actors who aren't already in the talent pool, which is sort of the point. Like, a lot of people have been shut out because it's a small enough community. There's a lot of it's white. And I just think we're at a time where it's not acceptable anymore to put on The Voice, and
Alrighty, and kind of going into that you co-direct a lot of stuff with Stephanie Shea. What's it like been working with her on a lot of these projects? How's it been working with her?
I met Stephanie in 2003, and immediately I kind of recognized her as one of the few people that I think sees the work the way I see the work, for better or for worse. But in terms of authenticity and understanding what the moments mean beyond what the result of the moment is. A lot of people that I've been directed by, do a great job, but can't always connect all the dots, understanding culturally what's happening in Japan, for instance. They're like, well, this guy seems angry, play more angry. And I'm like, or this nerdy character. Yeah. There's a lot of nerds I've played that aren't really nerds. They know that they're not jocks. They know where they stand in school in terms of their hip status or their star meter, but they're fine with it. I love that being non-athletic and smart is just fine, and they don't have to be like, oh, I suck at things. They're like, oh, I'm good at other things. You know what I mean? I'm being vague because I don't want to name specific characters, but she gets it culturally. She gets it from an authentic performance standpoint, and because of that, we've just been collaborating on so much stuff. Yeah. Kind of culminating with the Your Name, where we direct each other being ourselves, which we told to Shinkai, and he was like, oh, well, that makes a lot of sense. That's really cool. I can't wait to see the dub.
Trust me, once I watched Your Name, I'm like, freaking Mike and Stephanie doing such a good job making me cry. Talking about...
It's okay. Oh, do you want to hug? Him?
All right, since last time we got to talk to you, we happened to do a route.
My camera's being molested over there. It's very funny to me.
So Peter, our wonderful photographer, is taking a picture of Michael's special camera, which we talked about in the past.
Yeah, represent. Thank you, Peter. Do you want to say anything about that? It's like cameraception right now. It's like a picture of a camera taking device. What? Yeah, now there's someone's taking a picture of him taking a picture of a camera that's pointing at the first camera that's taking a picture of the picture being taken of a picture-taking device.
Since last year you happened to do the roast, you happened to be at the roast of J. Michael Tatum, yes, which was wonderful. You had to chime in a little bit. And then this year you happened to go see the lovely Mr. Aaron Dismuke be roasted last night. How was it all for all those of us that couldn't attend? Remember, it's an 18-plus panel, so we can't repeat everything.
Just insert bleeps every 3 seconds and it'll sound way more vulgar than it is. It was really funny. One of the things, actually, to tie it back to A Silent Voice, we were really enjoying watching the ASL interpreters signing all this crazy roast material. Yeah. And it's very emotive as a language, the face and the whole body gets into it. And at some point at the end, when the roastee gets to speak to the Deus, Aaron was like, and these guys were amazing, and he's like, and he's saying that they got to say all this crazy stuff, and he's like, say what I said, right? He's bossing the ASL interpreter to you say you have to say everything I do, and she's like, I have to say everything that he says, and then he looks at her, and she looks at him and goes, it was a very frustrating, hard thing to try to sign, and then she turns to him, and then it brought down the house. It was it was awesome. That was one of the funniest moments of the whole thing. But other than that, we can't really talk about what happens. It's like a Fight Club. Yeah. And there's no cameras allowed.
And car crashes.
Apparently he can't drive worth a damn. He wrecked 4 cars in 5 years.
16 to 21.
Yeah, that's 5. Yeah, that's absurd.
Yeah, one was through a 7-Eleven.
And that was not the total car. He made it a drive-through, and it wasn't. So I gotta say, after hearing all that, we are lucky to have Aaron Dismuke among us.
Yes, we are.
Because he should have offed himself
more than once.
Darwined himself away.
Alrighty, so last time you and I happened to chance, we were we were talking about your acting workshops. How are those going for you, and what's it been like to be taught by some of the best actors that you can potentially be taught by through those acting workshops? I know you haven't been able to get to as many as you would have liked, but how's it like whenever you get to do one?
You know what? Yeah, it's been a minute. I've been so busy that I haven't. I really want to. The class that I was taking that I loved so much is no longer, but now he teaches like workshops. So like every few months he'll do it, and then I've been too busy when he shows up. So I'm very upset. The thing about it is, I think it's really important, especially as a working professional, to not stop. I'm going to burp. Woo! It was Indian curry for lunch, so I'm just trying to help you out right now. If you've got a match, that's cool. For you at home, enjoy that. No, it's I didn't really want to burp into your microphone. Other people are going to be like, oh, I can't do interviews with this guy anymore. Mike smells like curry. Michael's curry gut. So I think as a working professional, is that where I was? It's important not to stop learning and growing, because you can be like, I work, I book, I'm successful, I'm doing, and working is great practice. But it's also really, really important, I think, to stretch other things that you're not doing and reintroduce new concepts that aren't just what you're being exposed to. That's kind of the point of going to school as opposed to learning on the internet. Yeah. Like you can be introduced to things that you didn't just stumble across that you would never have otherwise been introduced to. And, maybe be taught something objectively that you're not just in the middle of. I think like when I was a kid going to the fame school, they didn't want us to work because they didn't want us to get rewarded for bad habits and reinforce castable things, but things that wouldn't help you in the long run. So because of all that, I think it's really important. I want to keep doing it. And whatever. I also think I'm an imposter and not good enough. But beyond that, it's really important to me to keep learning. Yeah.
Yeah. So, any career, you can do that. So, one thing we didn't happen to talk about last time is that you actually own a production company, which happens to do all the wonderful films that you've been able to work on, like Your Name and Silent Voice. What's it like being an owner of a production company, and how did you even decide to start doing it?
That's so weird. I'm not a business person. I was an actor from a classical theater conservatory, which is as useful a degree as one that doesn't get you hired anywhere. You don't need a degree to be hired as an actor. Okay. And then I study classical theater, which there's not much of that going on that makes any money. I could maybe do some plays here and there, but I love what I learned and apply it to everything I do, even technically. So I was working as an actor, and then I heard about anime happening in North Carolina, and that's why I got my first job. And then I was working at the studio because I was into audio technology and blah, 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 blah. It sort of snowballed into something that I didn't know. Like when people go how did you get into voice acting or whatever? Yeah. Every actor I know who's working has a completely different, non-traditional story. They were like, well, I took a class and then an agent called up and I started working, and nothing's normal. Lisa Ortiz had a car accident, a flat tire. Yeah. No, not carjacking.
Sorry.
Carjack, not give me your car. Wasn't Grand Theft Auto, but she's in Grand Theft Auto.
That's why it would tie back to that, because it was her brother accidentally stole her car, got a flat tire, and then
accidentally stole her car. Accidentally?
Yeah. He took it without talking to her.
It's not an accident. But it's not permitted yet.
Okay. And then she ended up getting cast in Grand Theft Auto because her friend was the casting director for the game. Yeah.
It worked. Yeah. And then she did, what was that old fantasy anime that she was in? The first one.
Slayers?
No, before Slayers, she was in another one. So no one has the normal story. I ended up directing a bunch, and then I moved to New York, and then I was introduced to Media Blasters through Scott Houle. Thanks, Scott Houle.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And he was like, oh, there's too much going on, and they're actually slow to pace, so be careful, but talk to him. And then John Cerabella was like, hey, we want to give you this Demon Fighter Code show, and I'm half doing a Jerry Seinfeld, but he's like, if you do a good job, we'll give you more, and if you do a bad job, we'll give you porn. And I was like, I'm sorry, what? So I did a good job, so I didn't do porn, and I got more and more work through that, just one thing after another. And then I was like, I've got to get my own studio because I can't just do this in my house, where I had previously recorded one young Nicki Minaj in my house for Sean Thomas, who ended up working on Boondocks and is now creating Cannon Busters.
Oh, really?
It's a weird...
Yeah, it's a weird way you live your life, man.
She was 15, 16, did her first job in my house. But whatever. And she owes me a sweatshirt. She stole my sweatshirt. I let her borrow it. I permitted her borrowing it, but I was like, yo, don't do that girl thing where you borrow a guy's clothes and don't give it back. She's like, nah. And I was like, okay, because it was my friend, my detective, NYPD detective, high school buddies, custom Hanna-Barbera characters on a fleece, and I want it back. Anyway, if it even exists. So What am I talking about? Oh, how
production,
so
yeah.
so then I got that job, and then one thing led to another, and I had to get a space, and I got it down by the World Trade Center in the year 2000. So I was there for a year, and then the whole neighborhood came down, and too soon. And then I just kept working, and it kind of snowballed from there. And I used to do everything by myself, which laid the groundwork for how I figured out how to do things quicker. And so from like adaptation to mix, I was like one-man banding it. And now I have a company that's on New York and LA. And part of, like, that's one of the things that makes our company different is we can cast from New York and LA. So everything we do is bi-coastally cast. Because I've worked out weird little workflows, I do direct other places. I'm directing for Cartoon Network right now and Warner Brothers, and I'm doing stuff at Titmouse. But when I'm for dubbing, which is particularly hard and low paying, I have so many different systems at my own place that help me do the level of quality that I'm able to do, which I think would be harder for me to do if I were working somewhere else because I didn't build the whole system. And
I'm not gonna lie, like pipeline. I'm not gonna lie, man. Like seriously, watching your name and knowing the production quality that went into it was phenomenal. So thank you.
I really appreciate that, and I love it. And I just wish I had more time because we had like 5 weeks from like adaptation to mixing, like theatrical mix delivery. It was so fast. So like Steph and I were recording at like after midnight. Yeah, it was so hard. So thank you for caring about it. But I think like the extra hard struggle of it, and like her getting it and me getting it and our being able to direct each other and our like special friendship, like I think is part of the magic that makes them like have a connection.
It does. Now again, you happen to be going back to Ventura Brothers. It's got its 8th season, came out on Cartoon Network. What's it like going back into that, being Dean Venture?
All right, so it's always a real long break before we come back. So we're like, whoa, where was I? But it doesn't matter anymore because Dean grows so much now. Since we got, spoiler alert, so earmuffs if you've never watched past season like 4, we got rid of the clones.
Okay.
So like now it matters. Like Dean used to reset.
Right.
But now Dean is growing.
Right, because like there was a whole joke like, I'm a clone, like that. Yeah, and then like now he's like, no, I'm only Dean and Dean only.
Yeah, well, he went through I'm not a real boy, and then at the end of that season, his brother's like, whatever, who cares? It's kind of cool. He's like, oh, I guess who cares? I'm me. So now he's trying to strike out on his own and do his own thing. And it's funny because like I used to always be like, Dean's up here, you know, and now like Dean is not up there, and it's like, oh, Dean's a little lower. Yeah, it's still like nasal in place, but I.
Over the top nasally.
Yeah. Not like I don't want to put my face down there. There's pee on it, but. I love Dean so much because I relate to Dean more than I care to admit, and so yeah, I get to express my secret shame through him. Not shame, but like secret, like not cool, not my nerd truth. Oh sure, with my awkward hair. My hair is all messed up right now. I should have made you give me your hat. All right, great, thanks. Is it better?
It's tipped to the side, so it's okay.
Okay. What a bon vivant I am.
Alrighty. No,
Heavy.
it is.
I wear a lot of hats, but this hat is heavier than all of them.
I got a big head.
Yeah, I got a big head. I mean, literally, not figuratively, like, yeah, I'm really cool. Yeah, my big head doesn't usually fit hats. So this is amazing that I can fit your hat.
Yeah.
That's what it look like. Please continue to ask me questions. It's fine.
Okay. So,
Whoa. I feel like I could...
hold on. Here.
So
Just sit
big,
here.
you
Put your
know.
camera back on.
Oh, what? Okay. Wait, does it do something?
Mm-hmm.
Camera. Wait, no. Camera. What? What did it do? It lights up. Wow. I like light up things. One of the reasons I own a recording studio is so I can have more light up things.
As we're being photographed by your own camera right now.
Yes.
Right. So are there any upcoming projects you want fans to know about that we didn't have the chance to talk about?
There are, and some I can't speak about. I think that I can talk about the new Gundam we did.
Oh, what? More Gundam?
More Gundam. And it's going to be a theatrical Gundam narrative, or Gundam NT. It is 2 years after Unicorn.
Okay.
Did you just buy a companion food at the glitch booth?
I didn't.
You left your camera behind.
Oh no, lost camera. My heart goes out to you, camera. That is great. I'm working on, so some of the movies that are going to come out in home, like entertainment release, Mirai, the host of the film, MFKZ is so bananas, please see it. We did an 11 arts piece called Listen the Bluebird.
Oh yeah, I heard about that through the buzz of the industry.
Yes. It's actually lovely. And then there's so many films. There's like a film a month, and I'm forgetting what they all are. I'm doing 2 other projects I don't think I can talk about.
Okay.
So I can't say.
Okay.
But I've been so much busier than just those films. Yeah, there's some other series that I can't talk about, but keep watching this channel, and I'll give you updates as soon as they're announced.
Okay, and again, so we know when you're announcing them, where can we follow you online? And what message would you love to give to the fans that have kept up with you and I on our zany interviews and questions in life?
The camera, it's weird. So, one, I usually tweet more than I gram. I know the kids are on the gram. I need to do it.
At M Center?
Ooh, he's good.
Yes,
M-I-F-N-T-E-R.
Yep.
And then my Instagram, do you remember that one?
MS Word.
MS Word. Word. Yes, MS Word. And no, I'm not Clippy. But, so yeah, check those out, and I will say things there. Oh, Foodie Cootie.
Oh,
I worked on Foodie Cootie.
Season 2 and 3.
Season 2 and 3, yeah, I worked on that.
Oh, yeah,
and
you went out and you did the funny vlog and went to the artwork in LA on your motorcycle, right? On my Vespa. On your Vespa, and you did all that cool vlog stuff to promote the show.
yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because we ended up talking to Carrie Walgren.
Yeah.
Talked to her last year.
She's great.
Yep.
It was so cool to get her back to like how to go again.
Yeah.
And it was like,
back up to her
yeah,
voice.
she was like, I'm kind of.
It was almost like
excited.
15 years between the two seasons.
Yeah, like 18, I think. Something ridiculous. Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
It was like her first job in LA.
Yeah, she talked about that. Yeah.
So cool. And then she's like, let's see if I do it right. And she did like one line. We're all like, oh my God, she's back. And she's like, was I doing it right? We're like, listen to this. You're amazing. Yeah, it was phenomenal. And I'm in Osamatsu Brothers. I'm Jushimatsu, otherwise known as Juicy. Sixth brother wears the yellow. He's the innocently happy. Maybe not the brightest. I mean, are any of them smart? They're not. But he's like the particularly joy-filled one. Yeah. So yeah, it was great. I'm very excited about that, and that's coming out soon. And there's more Venture Brothers, and yeah, and then stuff I can't talk about.
Final message to all the fans?
Final message is, I think last time I talked about sleep, which is ridiculous.
Eating right, sleeping right.
I say, you know what? So I made this rule for myself. It's kind of my New Year's resolution, but I realized that with so much, I have a lot of things to be grateful for, and a lot of things are very stressful. Like, I have these great jobs to do, but I have no time to get them done, and I'm going crazy and not sleeping. I didn't get to see my family for Christmas, but I realized something. It starts with complaining about it, and then that makes you get on a negative path. I think if you can catch yourself complaining and stop that, it will make you at least 5 to 15% happier.
Okay.
In my case, like at least 20% happier by stopping myself from complaining. It's a subtle little thing, but also like on the internet or about your own. It's fine. About whatever's going on. Just experiment with not complaining.
Okay.
Like be positive, all that stuff. Like that's kind of harder to institute, but like complaining, you can notice it and stop it.
Yeah.
Just start with that.
Again, Michael, it's always a pleasure. I love having and talking to you, my friend. You're one of the best interviews I ever do every year. Thank you.
Sorry for being so chatty, and you're a very kind man. Thank you for the use of your hat.
You're welcome.
I'm keeping.